If you have a service company where you call on customers in their homes, I have 10 tips that'll help you win your customers' hearts and keep them long term. Those tips are coming up. In this video, I'm going to go over 10 tips that I think are really helpful for service companies to winning your customers' hearts. You know, people can call anyone they want to provide whatever services that they're looking to have done, whether it's a plumbing service, carpet cleaning, lawn service, maid service, window washing, you name it, the list goes on, right? But when they've contacted you, and especially if they've hired you, there are some things that you can do that'll really help them stay with you long term, and frankly tell all their friends and family about you. So I'm going to go over about 10 items, and there are many, many more, but 10 that I think are in about that kind of top tier of things that you can practice with your customers on a regular basis to keep them contacting you when they need your services and really have them super happy that they contacted you in the first place and didn't choose somebody else. So first of all, I think it's important that, number one, you answer your phone professionally. Not Joe's Plumbing, Joe speaking. That just generally doesn't go over very well. You know, just because you're in a service industry where you get your hands dirty doesn't mean that you have to be, unprofessional, that you have to speak in an unprofessional way. And if you're not polished that way, then you want to really try to get there, work on that. So, for example, when you answer your phone, let's go with Joe's Plumbing, for example. Thank you for calling Joe's Plumbing. This is Joe. How can I help you? Something like that. And then when they're asking you about the services that you provide, and you're asking them certain questions about what their needs are, get their name. Jot down their phone number. Tell them how thankful you are that you called. I'm so glad you called us. How'd you find out about us? Have a conversation with them. People don't want to feel like they're just talking to a cold telephone, just another person who's just going to just sort of run them through the paces and not really connect with them. And, they want to connect with a human being. And people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Well, for now, they don't know you very well unless they found you online. Maybe they saw several great reviews, or if you have a website, they saw your website and they saw before and after pictures or testimonials from customers about how great you are, how great your company is, how honest you are. Those where they get a chance to maybe sort of get to know you in kind of a third-party fashion, or maybe they were referred to you by a friend or a family member or somebody who you talked to at a grocery store, at the market someplace, and they referred you to this great company. And so you have a sense. They have a sense, I should say, that they kind of know you that way, but they really don't know you very well yet. So let's assume that piece is sort of understood. And then remember, it's the know, like, and trust. Well, to like you, you need to come across likable, right? So have that friendly, sort of pleasant way about you when you're on the phone with them. And then the trust factor. One of the ways that people over the telephone build the trust factor is sounding sincere, sounding real, sounding personable, and saying things like, if you are not able, for example, to completely quote the entire job over the phone, sometimes you can't, in many cases you can't, let them know that, you know what, we're going to give you the best service we can and the most reasonable price, and you will, of course, not have to pay for the work until it's done. We won't start the work until you've approved it. These are the kinds of things, depending on your industry, that you can say to customers to help build that trust factor. Okay? So that's part of it as far as the phone etiquette. Number 2, be on time. One of the greatest complaints of customers that use service companies to work in their home or business is they don't show up on time. And if you are in a service business that really needs a time window, then give them that time window, but then honor that time window. Now, if let's say you the first job starts at 8 o'clock, it's pretty easy to say 8 a.m. and be there at 8 a.m. Maybe 5 minutes early. Don't be late. If you are running late because of traffic or weather, what have you, unforeseen circumstances, call them or send a text message to let them know that I'm running behind. My new ETA is whatever, so that they know what's going on. After the first appointment, though, and you have second, third, other subsequent appointments, where you might need a window of time because you don't know how long the first job necessarily is going to take, right? Or maybe it runs over a bit. The subsequent appointment times, you should give them a time window, generally speaking. Like we can be there between 10 and noon, something like that. I wouldn't say we'll be there between 8 and 5. When service companies do that, it totally messes up the homeowner's day or the renter's day, your customer's day. If they have any plans whatsoever, they have to shut down their whole day if they had intended to go out of the house for anything. Because you'll be there between, 8 and 5. But if you say between 12 and 4, at least they know that they have the morning hours to take care of business. Or if it's, you follow my point here. And if you're running early. So if you said, for example, my time window is 12 to 4, don't just show up at 10:30 in the morning. They're not prepared for you. So if you're running early, well, hey, I'm running early. Is that okay? I can be there by 10:30. If they say no, go hang out at the mall. Go to a coffee shop. Go to a hardware store, whatever, but hang out someplace and then be there on time as you initially planned to do. Number 3, definitely honor your prices. So again, if you give a firm quote over the phone, honor that firm quote. If you can't give a firm quote, well, of course, let them know. Depending on what we find, the price could be anywhere from here to here. We really don't exactly know. Many service calls are like that. Plumbing service calls, electrician service calls, for example, are like that. Many, many are. But there are certain service industries where you can be pretty close to the price range that you need to be. And if you can't give an exact price, because maybe you don't have the ability to know enough information, and sometimes you just can't. With all the questions qualifying the job, you might not still have the full scope of the work to give an exact price. But if you can give an exact price or within a close price range, stay within that price range. Now, if you must go outside of that price range for some unforeseen reason, explain it in a very easy to understand way, but come across sincerely and honestly. Remember earlier I mentioned that some of the most common complaints about service companies are that they didn't show up on time and they did not honor their prices. Okay, you want to make sure that you're honoring your prices. That honesty is so critical. In fact, here's an idea too. If you're whatever the service is, if you quoted a price of $500 and it comes out to $510, something not much over $500, let's just say it's $510. Now, this assumes you're the owner and you have the flexibility, or maybe you are a lead person in the field and your boss has given you the flexibility. You can say something like, and there's a good reason for this, I'll tell you in a moment. You can say something like, the bill actually came out to $510, ma'am, but I told you not over $500, so I'm going to honor that. In many cases, they'll say, well, no, hey, if it's $510, it's $510. Let's just use that number as the example. I'm going to pay the $510, but they're going to appreciate the fact that you offered to forgive the $10. Or they may say, you know what, I appreciate that so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You honored your price, and what that will do for you is that will gain miles of trust and good press. The reason good press is so important today is in an online review world, you want as much positive press as possible. 1 or 2 really bad reviews can damage your business. It can cost you don't know how many sales because you don't know what customers did not call you because they saw a few bad reviews. So I always look at service companies, and I've owned service companies, and we've done this a number of times, where that $10 or $20, let's just go there, is cheap advertising. Right? It's cheap, free publicity because they'll tell other people about it. Many service companies don't honor their prices. Many service companies go in with a bait and switch. It's sad, but it is quite true. Not all by any means, but a lot of them do. In most industries, where they quote one price to get in the door, and then the price is much higher. when it didn't have to be necessarily. We're talking about when you can quote a reasonable price range over the phone. Sometimes, again, you can't. When you can, and then they get in with a low price and then jack it up. It's so common that when people have someone like I just described say, look, your bill really, it came out to $510, but we're going to make it $500 because that's what I told you, and I honor my commitments. Those are the kinds of words. We're going to talk about using words in a moment as well that put people sometimes in a positive way over the top. Oh, wow, because they were expecting to be ripped off. Let's just be honest here. They were expecting to be taken advantage of by a service company who knows more about this issue that they're fixing than the homeowner knows. So since they're expecting it, and oftentimes their guard is already up because of that, when you display just the opposite, it is mind-blowing in many cases to them, and they will tell their friends. Okay? So honor your prices. Another thing is do really good quality work. Do quality work. Don't shortcut. People in their homes, they love their homes. Their home is their biggest, in most cases, their biggest investment. Take really good care while you're in their home. Okay? But also, don't be somebody who they consider a slipshod, sort of sloppy worker, and they wish they had hired somebody else. Take your time. Do the job right. Now, if you are a service technician and you're being pushed by your boss to put out a certain amount of work in a certain amount of time and you're sort of inclined to have to rush, that's a conversation that you should have with your boss. But whenever it is within your control, do the very best you can to do really, really good quality work. Quality will win you much more praise and much more future work than time saved. Some people have the mindset in the service industry, well, if I take too much time in their home, I'm really inconveniencing them. Maybe, I suppose, if you're milking the clock and you're just going really, really slow because you're just not efficient and you're there all day long and maybe you could have been done in 4 or 5 hours or 2 hours, but you're there an exorbitant amount of time and it's obvious, then yes, you might be inconveniencing the customer. But generally speaking, be efficient, do really good quality work, and the customer won't mind that you're spending the appropriate amount of time in their home to get the work done properly. And quite to the contrary of what I just spoke about, sometimes if you're in a customer's home and you're doing a job and you're too fast, even if the work is really good, maybe you're just super efficient, and the customer's looking at the clock thinking, I spent $500 and you only spent this amount of time. Now they may have a different perspective of you, or perception, I should say, of you. Even though the price may have been the correct price and the right price for any average technician who's a good technician, if your technician is way above average, there's no reason the company should be penalized and charge, $100 less or whatever the number might be just because he was more efficient. The appropriate charge should still be levied, but just kind of be aware there is also a balance there. So let's just go here for a moment. Let's just say that the technician, maybe you're the technician, you're the owner, you're the technician, you are so good, so efficient that you know that the price you charge is an industry standard price, it's a fair price, but that you are that efficient and that good where you can be out of there in almost no time. Frankly, take your time. There's nothing wrong with that. Give the customer the value for the money spent. And sometimes a customer will perceive value as related directly to time. Hope that makes sense. So if you get done too fast, even if everything is perfect, it might be a negative perception in the customer's mind. And you've heard the phrase maybe or maybe not, but perception is reality. And in the customer's mind, the reality to them is they were ripped off when they weren't. Anyone else would have charged the same amount of money, not a dime less perhaps. They'd have just taken 3 times as long because they're not as efficient. So what? You should still collect the same amount of money because your efficiency should be rewarded. Just be careful and sort of judicious in how you manage that time versus dollars balancing act. Okay, so Also, don't be afraid or ashamed to let the customer know if you have a situation that's kind of over your head, and that happens. In many service companies, maybe something, you know what, I don't have quite the expertise in this piece of this, and perhaps I should refer you to someone who has the right level of expertise. Pick your battles, in other words. There is nothing wrong with doing that. And if you find that that's happening more often than you would like, then you maybe should try to get up to speed in those areas. But there's nothing wrong with that. Customers, in fact, will appreciate that so that you aren't experimenting in their homes. Something else, compliment the customer. Say nice things. So you walk into their homes. Now on the phone, you've already complimented them. Thank you so much for calling us. I appreciate it. That kind of conversation. Now you're in the customer's home. You have a lovely home. It's obviously you take great care of it, and I'm going to do my best to take equally as good of care of your home as you do. Something like that, right? Or they have a dog who's just wonderfully mannered. Say, that is a beautiful dog and so well behaved. Maybe the dog is sitting down, it wants to shake your hand, it's not jumping all over you. A sincere compliment will go a long ways as well. It's building remember, you're in their home perhaps for the first time. Maybe they've never met you before, never seen you before. They talk to you on the phone, they saw your website, but now they're meeting you for the first time. And they're opening their home now to you. Their sanctuary, their place of calm, their home. You want them to feel very comfortable with you when you're there. And so compliment them in a very sincere, polite way. Express gratitude for them choosing you. They could have chosen any other company to provide the same work that you're going to provide that day. So when you're there, you may have also done this on the phone. Hopefully you did. But let's say you're not the one that takes the phone call. Maybe you have someone who takes the phones for you. You then go into the customer's home at the appropriate time while you're doing the work, or maybe when you're just checking the customer out at the end of the job and you're collecting for the job before you leave. You can say something like, I'm so honored that you chose us. Thank you. I know you could have chosen anybody else, but you chose us. And I just appreciate that so much. Wow. These are the kinds of things that many service companies just don't do. And if you have field technicians that are out there, teach them to do that on your behalf, because if they're paid a commission or they're paid by the job or however you pay them, it benefits them to have this kind of customer service and this kind of polite etiquette with the customer, because while the company gains more business, that technician gains more jobs to do. It strengthens his employment or her employment, right? And so teach them to do that. Also, send a thank you card to your customer. I recommend this to be done with every customer. Unless it's a place where you've gone to do some work and it's a vacant home, maybe it was a rental and they moved out. You're not going to send it, of course, to the renter. Maybe the renter is the one who called you that had to have something done before they moved out, and then they moved to another state. A thank you card is not so much necessary. But if it's a customer who is still living there or still in the area and you know the address to send them the card, send them a thank you card. You may have a CRM or customer relationship management software program that automatically sends postcards, because there are postcard fulfillment companies that will do that for you, which is wonderful. Have it set up to send a thank you card. But if not, if you do things by hand, buy a stack of thank you cards, buy a box of them, and just a handwritten thank you at the end of the day. I sure appreciate you for contacting us and allowing us to work in your home. It was a great honor and pleasure. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to call me. Put your card in there, stamp, address it, send it. Spend $1. You can buy bulk thank you cards, even blank ones. It says thank you on the front, but blank inside, which is what you want. You buy them in bulk, and then stamp is whatever it is at the time of this viewing. But you're going to spend $1, maybe $1.10. If the call was a $300 call or a $500 or $1,000, what's $1 to say thank you? That goes a long ways. And tell them to please contact you if they have any questions at all. That's number 9. Give them the assurance that you're there for them after the work is done, after the sale. And you want them to please contact you if they have any questions at all or any issues with the work, and let them know, I want you to be thrilled with the work that I'm doing here. That being said, the number 10 is the kinds of words that you should be using without going overboard, right? Say things like honored, I'm grateful, I appreciate, I want you to be thrilled with the work that I do, I'm super excited to be working for you. Those kinds of positive words in your exchange with that customer will go far. This is all about making your customers love you and fall in love with the company that they've chosen to do business with, because let me tell you something, repeat customers are a gold mine. Repeat and referral customers. They'll use you again and again and again. They will tell others about you, refer you to other people. It's much more expensive to always have to go after new customers, to continue mining for new customers and paying for advertising to get new customers to call. What a great spot to be in, or position within your company, having your business so busy with repeat and referral work that you no longer have to advertise. And so these tips are kind of designed to help you get to that point, right? Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. It's been a great pleasure. I'm honored that you watched this video. I want you to be super happy with the work that I've done in this video. Do you see what I'm doing here? And I'm having fun with it too. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell with this video. I would appreciate it so much. You'd help this channel grow. And I hope that you have the kind of job or career or business that you want to have.